yeah, I felt called to go into ministry.
And so, how old were you when you felt called to go into ministry?
I guess it was 17, and I had
So
just
about a junior or senior?
junior in high school. I had just come back from a mission trip to Peru, and while I was there, I fell in love with the culture, fell in love with cross-cultural communication, and just with the global church, I think. And so I loved being able to worship with people in a whole other language, and that wasn't even my own. And so yeah, that kind of spurred it on. I never actually thought I would be in vocational ministry within the institutional church, and I just didn't know that was an option. So that surprised me. So yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about what you do, because it is sometimes, can be challenging being a female, especially with the denomination that you are in. Can you talk about some of the biggest challenges going into ministry as a female?
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of expectations on women on what they can be and what they can do, and that sometimes puts not real limits, but perceived limits. And so that's, I feel like, in the context that I'm in right now, I don't feel like I'm battling that. But in the past, in different contexts, that's been a real struggle. There's the expectation I should be home with my family or taking care of my kids. In fact, I have not had a job interview without being asked, well, what do you plan to do with your children if you're working? Well, just about what every other working mother plans to do. Childcare.
Right.
And so, I think it's, there's also perceptions of what I should love. And I should love doing certain things, and so, so I think that's probably the biggest struggle, is the perceptions of what I can do, but I get a lot of support within our context of and encouragement of what I'm doing in the work and how I'm doing it.
When you were 17 and you felt this call, did you tell people?
I told my family.
Okay, and how'd they take it?
Not very well.
Okay, tell us about that.
Well, I told my parents that I wanted to go into ministry. I wanted to be a missionary. And they said, no, you're not.
No, they said no.
No, they said, no, you're not. And I said, well, why not?
Did you expect that response?
A little bit, yes. Where my parents were spiritually, we were not very well as a family at that point, I guess, if you want to put it in wellness terms. And so we, for them, it was money. You're not going to be able to support yourself.
Okay.
And so I said, well, I'm just going to have to trust God. And then they said hogwash, pretty much. And so that took me, in order for me to be a missionary, I wasn't just going to go straight in the mission field without any kind of training or education. And education has always been really big for my family, because my family hasn't always had the privilege of gaining extra education. So college was definitely, yes, you have to go to college. So I started looking at private schools and stuff like that, and they said, no, we can't afford that, and you're not going. So well, I just look at one, and they said, well, you can pick one school out of state to look at. So I found one school out of state that was a private school. They didn't limit whether it could be private or public. So I chose that one. We went and looked at it, and they fell in love with it, with the campus and the atmosphere and the environment.
And where was that?
Ouachita Baptist in Arkansas.
So they were okay that it was a private and that it was affiliated with the church?
That they were a little leery of, but it was a different denomination that had been serving in, and so I think they were a little bit more comfortable because since it was a Baptist university, it was a little less charismatic, they just, so we checked that out. Well, turns out I ended up receiving more scholarships for the private institution rather than a public school. So it was actually cheaper for me to go to
Okay.
private school.
So they said okay.
Yep. So I went, and
What did they tell you what to major in?
they said I had to have two. If I was going to do Christian studies, I
Okay.
had to have another degree
Okay.
because they just didn't want me getting stuck, and or not being able to support myself.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing that I was passionate about was communication.
Mhm.
So, which doesn't always play out well for me, being able to communicate well, and so it's kind of funny. But I loved journalism and mass communication, so I studied mass communication in conjunction with Christian studies.
Mm-hmm.
So, but while I was there, I switched to make sure that the Christian studies was my major, my primary major.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I went into that and then studied abroad. That opened up more cross-cultural experiences for me, which was it was an incredible experience. And then after that, I felt called to even further education. So I received my master's at Truett Seminary, master's of divinity. So I did that, and still with the intention of going in international missions. But then it was halfway through my seminary experience that changed, that shifted. And but over the years, course of the years, for me going to school and with my training and everything else, my parents have I feel like they've witnessed the call in my life for ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're 100% in support of it now. But I think they were just afraid of me, like, just taking a backpack and, skipping out, walking out the door, and, maybe getting a postcard from me here or there, wondering if I'm in a prison somewhere,
Yeah. So that no there was some love behind that no.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they've grown a lot spiritually over these years, and so.
In seminary, was it challenging to be a female? How many females were there?
Actually, at Truett Seminary, it was not challenging.
Okay.
That is actually where I felt the most encouragement and support
Okay.
for our call.
Okay.
Truett Seminary, I would say, has 50% men, 50% women. I mean, it's pretty even. Now, in undergrad, that's when I would sometimes, maybe there would be me and another girl in a classroom full of boys.
Mm-hmm.
But so seminary, I felt very encouraged. It took me a while, though, to find my voice in seminary. And so,
Now, you talked about the challenges. What do you love about ministry?
well, I love about ministry is, I feel like my job as a missions pastor is to push our church outside of its walls. Church doesn't exist inside walls. It's not a place. It's a people, and so I think it's constantly just reminding our church of that our belief is about who we are, and what we do and how we live, and that we have a purpose for our lives. So I'm very much a liaison between the church and the community, local and global, and so constantly trying to make myself aware of what's happening in the world and try to gauge what not necessarily what God is doing, but maybe what God is calling us to and how He wants us to participate in what He's doing. And so that's I feel like my role is the I don't know, sometimes it's kind of like investigation, finding out what He's doing and how we can be a part of that, and knowing the passions that our church has, what our people have, and how I can get them to tap into that for His kingdom. And so it means a lot of equipping. It means a lot of opportunities, making those available to our church, and so I guess what I love about it is just being able to help people with their own call. And so I think everyone is called for His purposes, and whatever that may be, I hope I can help equip them for that. Does that make sense?
Sounds kind of exciting work.
Yeah. So, there's been people along the way that have helped equip me. And so that's like the simplest thing I could do for other people is affirming their call and equipping them to be able to do that.
What kind of advice can you give to maybe young females that maybe are hearing the same call of ministry?
Well, have no fear. Like if God is calling you, like He will equip you, and He'll put people in your life to be able to do so, and He'll give you a context of how to use that call. Never ever thought of myself on a church staff, and
Here you are.
I am.